or who the world thinks God is. He is God. He is God.
Amen.
It's great to have our first guest tonight, Sonia Howard, that has joined us all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. And she has come to be with us tonight. And we're going to get into her life, of the journey that God has taken her in her life, and not just has taken her and left her, but He's brought her to a place of victory, a place of deliverance, a place of hope, and now she's helping others. Welcome tonight, Sonia. So good to have you with us tonight. God bless you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, you've been on a journey in your life. It's a journey that I'm sure has been unpleasant, hasn't been pleasing, but yet you look back now and you see that God has brought you to a place that only He could have brought you.
Yes.
We want to get into your life tonight a little bit, and the book, and we're going to be sharing with it in just a moment as well, about something that happened in your life. And now you are involved with young girls and women that may be experiencing the same difficulties, and it's called abortion. That a lot of young women today are contemplating, should I not? And you've been there, you've been through this. And so we want to get into that tonight, and we want to talk to you tonight about your life and how God brought you out of that and God brought you through that. But I want to begin about this love story for Christ that you talk about. What is this love story?
Well, my love story started with high school. I had joined the military, the Navy, and I was getting ready to go in, and my boyfriend felt I needed to be saved. Just in case I died. And so I thought, okay, well, yeah, let me do that. My whole life, my grandmother had been taking me to church and introducing me to God and teaching me the fundamentals. And it wasn't, I was in the Navy, and I knew that God had received me, and that I had received God's love. Right. And I didn't really need Him, though. I needed Him, but I didn't really call on Him very much.
Right.
It really wasn't until that my mother died. My mother had cancer, and she died. And it just hurt so bad. I'm an only child, and it was just a point where I realized that, no one else cared about me in the world. And I cried out to God. I had a friend in Hawaii, and she told me, why don't you just try God this time? Just try Him and rededicate your life to God, and you don't have to hurt like that.
That's right.
And if you go to Him, He'll take away your pain. And after crying for 7 months straight, I went to God and I asked Him to just renew me, and He did. And from that point on, I didn't cry anymore, I didn't hurt anymore, and that was my rededication time to God, was after my mom left.
After your mom had left, and you realized you needed that void to be filled, and you knew that God was the answer, but you had to get back to that place.
Yes.
Sometimes a lot of people, they're living on what I call easy street, and they really don't see any need of God. They know God. They know He exists. They know that He's there if they happen to need Him, but they don't really see the need of a surrendered life or a committed life to God. It's easy street, but it's when people get what I would call on Skid Row. When you get on Skid Row, you get on the bottom. And when you get on the bottom, the only thing you can do is look up. And the Bible says that He is high and lifted up.
Yes.
And so when we look up, He's the first thing we see. And when we see Him, He doesn't cast us to the side, but He looks at us with the eyes of love and extends to us a hand of hope and strength. And that's where your life was, it sounds like, that you were at the bottom, looking up, but God was always looking down, saying, here I am.
Yes.
Here I am for you. And let's go on with your life. At that moment, you rededicated your life back to God, right?
Yes.
What journey did you take after that?
The journey that I took after that was I had already been going to church, searching for different churches, and I think at that point God really began to speak to my heart and just begin to tell me who I was and who He was and how He could change me, because I had a lot of hurt inside me, and so from that point, I ended up crying a lot about an abortion that I had, and it wasn't until I was in church one day and our pastor asked us to go outside and volunteer at some different places. And one of the places that I went to was this pregnancy center. And I was so shocked when I walked up to the girl said, "Oh, hi, you know, I had an abortion." And
Yeah, it's
and
like,
I was looking around like,
What
okay, why are you
here?
telling
yeah,
everybody?
that's right.
that?
Yeah.
And the more she talked, the more I realized that, oh, okay, well, let me go and plug into here and try to volunteer. And so, and there they told me that, you know, son, you need to go through our healing program. And that's when I began my healing program from the abortion that I had, and I really started to acknowledge what had happened to me.
Was this your pathway to freedom? Is that how this pathway started for you, when you got placed in the most unlikely place?
Well, you know, after my healing from abortion, it led to many things, to me speaking out against abortion, to me writing my book, Almost Wasn't. And then from there, now I've become, you know, I've came in a situation where I'm speaking to others, and God is showing me that the very thing, the very healing process that I went through to heal from abortion, others can use it to heal from whatever they're hurting from.
Right.
So the pathway to freedom is what I tell people who are hurting, that they can also, you don't have to stay in your point where
That's
you're
right.
hurting.
Right.
So the hope that you found and the life that was given to you, that restoration, brought you into an area of freedom that you knew that other women could experience as well, that had possibly gone through the same thing,
Yes.
thinking the same thoughts,
Yes.
wondering how could it be any different in my life? What have I done? You know, but God brought you to that place of freedom. And now you're sharing that with other young girls and other ladies, that they too can be free. Now, how long have you been in that ministry field of speaking and sharing and giving out that encouragement or that hope?
About 4 or 5 years I've been doing that. About 4 or 5 years I've been working with Dr. Avita King, speaking to others, telling people about our stories, and the pain that we went through, the shame that we went through,
Right.
always thinking that someone was going to find out about our secret.
Right,
Right.
right, yeah.
And really thinking that God hated me, and that I didn't have any value to myself. You know, I didn't have my self-worth, my low self-esteem, and I really didn't think that I was worthy of love and that anybody would love me.
Right. And do you think that's where most people are at, women, people that go through devastating situations, that God really doesn't love me anymore? God
Yes.
doesn't care about me anymore.
Yes.
But yet He does.
Yes.
He does care. What are practical steps to get on this pathway? What are some of those steps?
So I challenge people to do this, and it's hard work, but I challenge them to make some time to talk to God. And, you know, maybe 3 or 4 hours is what I recommend. And then I tell them to find a place where they can talk to God, a place where they can cry if they need to, or if they
Right.
can scream if they need to.
That's right.
And then the third step is it's the most biggest one, is the hardest one, but they need to lay it all out on the table. What happened to you? What happened? You need to acknowledge it.
Right.
You need to say it out loud so you can hear what happened.
right.
God
That's right.
already knows what
That's
happened.
right.
That's right.
And then as you're saying what happened to you, who did it? Who played a part in hurting you? And what exactly happened? Who was supposed to save you?
Right.
And what was the happy ending supposed to look like? And if you go through those steps, it's very painful, you know, but you'll have an opportunity to just speak out loud and let God know what you really feel.
Right.
And God is a big God. He
Yes,
can
He
take whatever
is.
you
That's
dish
right.
out.
Yes, He is.
And then ask Him for what you want. Ask Him what help that you need from Him. Do you need Him to stop your depression? Do you need Him to stop you from hurting others? Do you need Him to stop you from, to just explain to you what happened?
Right.
What's the happy ending? And then whatever God tells you, I need you to listen and be quiet. And then I believe He'll speak to your heart.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's
And
right.
then believe it.
That's right.
Whatever He tells you, believe it.
That's right. Well, the steps that you mentioned, it sounds like all of these steps lead you to the gate of forgiveness. Forgiving yourself,
Yes.
forgiving others,
Yes.
sometimes even forgiving God.
Yes.
Because we're angry at Him and we say, God, you allowed this, and we have to say, God, I'm sorry. I forgive my anger towards you. So
Yes.
all of these steps lead you, it sounds like, to that gate of forgiveness, because forgiveness is that open door.
Yes.
And,
You know,
and
He's told us in the Word that if we cry to Him, He'll hear us. The Word says, I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and He heard me out of His holy hill. He's not just off somewhere
That's right.
that we can't get to, but our cries get the attention. When Jesus was in the boat,
oh yeah, yeah.
the cries from the disciples woke Him. Our cries awaken God and the Savior
That's right.
and the healer. And
Yes.
whatever we have need of, whether it's salvation, we can
That's
cry
right.
out to Him for salvation. If it's we need a healing, we cry out to Him. If we need deliverance, we cry.
Right.
If we need forgiveness and restoration, He said, in the Word it says, when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that's higher than I.
That's right.
We're in a low place.
That's right.
But He's a steadfast rock that doesn't shift, isn't blown,
That's right.
but is standing there ready for us to hide in the side of that rock. And in the hardness that we think may be God toward us, we find a place of, it says, almost like feathers, where He wraps us in His love. And I believe that's where the forgiveness comes
That's
so
right.
many times, when we're drawn into His presence and we feel His embrace.
Amen.
That's when our forgiveness comes. We
it.
just pour ourselves out to Him, and He's always there.
God is an awesome
Yes,
God.
He
Yes,
is.
He is.
Amen.
We're gonna be coming back in just a moment after a song,
Okay.
and we're gonna continue to talk
Yes.
about this area of your life, and I want you to explain this arise and address and the advance process. I want you to kind of give us an idea of what you mean by that, and then we're going to go into your book. But right now, we're going to a song by Jessica Crawford, "Wildfire."
Come and spark a flame that burns. Fan these embers, it's my turn. Watch the fire grow in my soul till I'm consumed. Set me ablaze now till there's no doubt I'm all for you.
Amen. What an awesome song
Wildfire.
tonight. Wildfire. Amen. Sonia, we've enjoyed this time with you, but there's some other areas that we want to get in that we haven't quite got into yet. And one of those areas is we want you to explain, and we mentioned this before we went to the song, rise, the address, and the advance. Give us some insight into what we're looking at there.
Well, in order for you to heal and get on the pathway to freedom, you need to arise out of your secret, you need to address the issue, and you need to advance past your pain. You need to arise out of your secret. In today's world, we have so many people that look good on the outside, but on the inside, they're hurting from something that happened to them in the past. We have a world full of people with secrets, secrets that they're still crying about.
That's right.
And they may be covering that secret with drinking or sex or food, gambling, working, whatever it is. And so they're just not dealing with that. So in order for you to get on this pathway to healing, you need to talk about what happened and you get it out. Then you need to address the issue. Once you've acknowledged that it actually happened to you, you need to get some help. You need to get, maybe go to therapy or life coach or get in a counseling group so that you can start to resolve through the layers to get help for what you've gone through.
That's right.
Because it just doesn't go away by itself. It's not enough to just acknowledge. And then the last step is to advance past your hurt. In today's world, we have a lot of people that are volunteering for children and for people that have been hurt. And many times it's an opportunity for you to see that that's what you're passionate about because maybe you relate to that person. Maybe you went through that
That's
same
right.
thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
once you address the issue,
Right.
now you're in position where you can actually help somebody else.
Right.
God can use the very thing that hurt you
Right.
to
Yeah.
help someone else.
That's
right.
true.
Yes, he can. Yes, he
That's
can.
true.
Yes, he can.
This is what we want you to do tonight. Would you share the journey that you went through and tell us how this terrible crisis that happened in your life has brought you to where you are and what you're doing to pour into people's lives now?
Yes. Yes.
At 14, I got pregnant, having sex the first time. And I went to my mother, devastated, thinking that she was going to kill me. And she said something very unexpected. She said to me, if you have this baby, you're going to do it by yourself, or you can have an abortion. I didn't know what an abortion was, but I knew if my mother was not going to help me, then that's what I needed to
Right.
do.
Right.
I had the abortion, and I'm sure that my mother had no idea the pain that I went through afterwards. She never mentioned it again, and for the next 20 years, I cried. I knew the day that I had it. I knew as soon as I came back that something was wrong, that I had done something wrong, that it was a baby, even though the lady told me it was a blob of tissue. I knew it was a baby.
Right.
And I cried for the next 20 years about the decision that I made. And about 10 years ago, I was with a friend. She was trying to open up a shelter for women, and I was trying to open up a group home for teen moms. And the more we talked, the more we realized that our common passion was coming from the fact that we both had abortions.
Right.
It was my first time confiding in
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
And we talked and cried, and after she left, I cried some more.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, okay, I need to go to God about this, and I need to ask for forgiveness. And I just cried out to God and told him I was just so sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I was
Right.
young, and
Right.
I'm just tired of hiding, and for him to heal me. And I know in that moment that he healed me.
Yes.
I know it. I felt
Yes.
it.
Yes.
I
Yes.
received it,
That's right.
because you have to receive it
That's right.
also. I
right.
received it, and he told me that day, not only have I already healed you, but I'm going to use your secret to glorify me.
Yeah.
And that began the journey of me connecting at church with
Right.
the Pregnancy Center, volunteering,
Right.
going through the healing
Right.
program, getting with Dr. King, learning all about abortion. But more importantly, what I want to talk about is during that healing process, I had to forgive. I had to forgive myself.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
I had to forgive my mom.
Right. Yeah.
I had to forgive my boyfriend.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
a lot of forgiveness.
today, when you have a baby and you carry that baby to term and that baby dies, you get to acknowledge that baby. You get to mourn that baby. You get to name
true.
that
True.
baby.
That's true.
I had an opportunity to acknowledge my baby. My baby's name is Olivia Riggins. I named her. I mourned her. I wrote a letter to her. I planted a tree for her, and it helped me.
Right.
So that's where I am today. God is showing me that not only from abortion, there are other people that are hurting from other things,
Right.
but the same process that you went through, you can help.
That's right.
People can heal in the
That's
same
exactly
way
right.
That's right.
from whatever they're hurting
Whatever
from.
they're hurting.
right.
And through that, you have written a book.
Yes.
And we have it with us tonight, and they'll have it on the screen, and I think it's already there. But in this book, you share your life
Yes.
of that abortion and what
Yes.
you went through.
Yes.
And they can get this book. They can go on your website. Am I
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that will be on the screen as well as it's there now, and they can
Yes.
go on there. And if someone wanted to contact you, they can do it through your website. Your
Yes.
email address is on
Yes.
there as well. And but this book not only shares the desperation and the depth that your life went into, but it also gives the hope
Yes.
and the life and the peace and the forgiveness that can come after
Yes.
devastation.
Yes.
Why did you title it Almost Wasn't?
Because I almost wasn't. My mom tried very hard to abort me. She hated my father. She didn't want a baby by him. And she tried desperately to abort me. And so, but she gave up. She got tired and she had me. And so I almost wasn't.
But you're here for a
That's
reason.
here
I'm
for
here.
a reason.
And
yes.
Satan didn't want you to be.
He tried to take me
he
out
tried to
early.
take you out early, and he
Yes.
tried to take you out again. But you know his plans are foiled when Jesus steps in.
That's right.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I'm so thankful tonight that someone was able to share with you that when you cry out to him, he does forgive and he can restore. And it's a wonderful thing to know that someday you'll get to be in the presence of Jesus and that baby.
That's right.
That's right.
And
That's
that will
right.
be a wonderful thing.
Yes, it
Life
will.
is precious. And we know the value of life
Yes.
before and after.
That's right.
But we also know the saving, redeeming power of a Jesus that loves us in the middle of our situations if we will just turn those situations over to him instead
right.
of trying to fix them ourselves
That's
so many
right.
times. And I know in your book you share that what if, but
That's right.
what he did was he was with you through what you went through. And
Yes.
now he has brought you to this place where you are able to pour into people that are maybe being abused
Yes.
and almost at the point of becoming entrapped in a situation. And you're also being used to talk to women who are being taken advantage of, who
right.
don't know what to do.
Yes.
Can you give some advice to somebody in these last few moments if they are right now facing this crisis
Yep.
and they're about to make a decision? Can you just share with them for just a moment what the hope is that they can have tonight in Jesus?
Yes.
Yes, definitely. You can go to God. You can go to God for anything. It's never too late.
Right.
After 20 years of me crying, God waited for me to come to him. I'm sure that God is letting you know in many different ways that you can come to him. So you can just cry out to God, just like I did, right where you are, and just ask him for help and ask him for
See,
whatever you
yes,
need.
Yes.
that's right.
And he will heal you.
Yes.
He will give you what you need.
Yes.
And he'll start you on a pathway to freedom. You have to acknowledge what happened to you. But if you take the first step, God will help you.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. And if someone, a young lady, wanted to get in touch with you, they can through your website. If
Yes.
they need some direction, if they need some help, they need your book,
Yes.
they need some guidance, or just someone to love them.
Yes.
Someone that says, hey, I've been there, I know, I care. Before we close this segment with you, tell us about this big project that's coming up. Start Telling, I believe it's called.
Yes, yes. So I have 2 birth children and 3 adopted children, and my children had already been molested by the time they came to me at 4, 6, and 10. And I've watched them, what they've hurt. I've watched them hurt throughout the years and how they have dealt with that in 3 different ways. And so God has spoken to me and given me a new campaign, Start Telling, that I'm working on. And I'm going to teach little children at a small age, and for everyone, not just little children, but different little messages to show them this is inappropriate.
Right.
When someone does this, this is inappropriate. This is who you should go to. And God has given me a hand signal, and I'm working on it, but this is what it is, so that somebody can give you that signal under the table. You know, you go out in the public, you see children, they can give you this signal, and I'm working on a signal to draw, so that they can draw it on paper to give a teacher.
Wow, that's
And
awesome.
so if you see a kid, you can rescue them.
That's
But of course,
right.
it's a huge campaign because everyone has to know the signal,
Right.
and we have to go around and educate the children.
right,
So
yeah.
that's the big project I'm working on,
That's
to
wonderful.
help children before they start hurting, before
That's
they
right.
get taken advantage
That's
of.
right.
That's it.
Start Telling campaign.
Well, what the devil meant to destroy you
That's
has
right.
made you into a powerful woman of God.
Yes, it has.
And you are doing a wonderful, wonderful job
Yes, it has.
sharing the message
Yes,
of Jesus.
amen.
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 Awesome
It's
job.
great.
And it has been such a joy
Yes.
to have you with us tonight here
Thank
at
you.
Niteline.
Thank you for sharing your
and
life with us.
sharing with others and sharing your life story. And you can get in touch with
Yes.
Sonia tonight. Go to her website and get her book. She'll pray for you. She'll minister to you. But most of all, God will love you through it.
Amen.
God will love you through it.
Amen.
So it's a joy to have you. Right now we're going back to Jessica Crawford. Come, Lord, let it be.